International 101, number one. Tired of the ordinary at lunchtime? Why not try something smart to chew on? The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
November 2025, and we are on to program number 1490 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calixte Jr. Now, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us on our website. It's rcistlucia.com, and we are up and running on our Facebook page, and of course, you can also reach us on YouTube. The number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And we can also be reached on our WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. I look back in time today for our program. We're looking back to as far as the year 1695, when Zumbi, the last king of the Quilombo dos Palmares in early Brazil, and a former slave was executed and decapitated. Legend of his immortality. In the year 1815, on this day, the Second Treaty of Paris, so France having its borders reduced to those of 1790, and agreed to pay 700 million francs in indemnities to end the Napoleonic Wars. 1945, on this day, saw the Nuremberg war trials begin, as 24 Nazi leaders were put on trial before judges representing the victorious Allied powers. And 1986, on this day, the World Health Organization announced the first global effort to combat AIDS. We now move on to our dish of the day.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here today at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, before we go any further, I just want to make mention that today is International Children's Day. And of course, it is certainly something that we need to recognize the importance of children in our society. And sometimes we may take these matters for granted. But of course, the well-being of our children, particularly from the period of 0 to 5, from birth to 5 years old, is very, very significant. International Children's Day was proclaimed for the first time back in the year 1925. And I think it was not on this day. In fact, originally it was back in June, and it eventually got shifted to November the 20th. And it is important to note that we have well-rounded, well-nurtured children who have the opportunity to, in fact, be just that, children. And the importance of childcare between, especially that period, the first 5 years of life, has certainly been identified as a major tool in ensuring better outcomes later on in life. And quite often we speak about, ensuring that if you want to have a strong building, you have to start with a strong foundation. And the principle apparently also applies to human beings and our own well-being as well. And so this is, of course, a very important undertaking that we have to achieve at the level of the family, at the level of the community, and certainly in terms of national development. As it is right now, we are in fact seeing a drop in the size of families. There was once upon a time when perhaps the average family size in St. Lucia would have been somewhere around 6 or 5. And we have seen it come down over the years and shrink as individuals decide to have fewer and fewer children. Today, I think the average household size, according to the most recent census data, puts it somewhere around I think somewhere in the region of 2.5 to 2.6 persons per household. And what you effectively are seeing, a lot of people now are living single lives. You've got, I think, nearly 30% of all households now in St. Lucia are one-person households. And that just gives you a sense of the structure that we actually have in our society. And of course, the presence of children seems to be dwindling in many areas. And so, whereas once upon a time, you heard a great plea being made in terms of family planning, in terms of putting an end to teenage pregnancies, we have certainly come full circle. And whereas maybe somewhere around 40 years ago, the average number of births in the year in St. Lucia was about 4,000, we in fact have come down to a situation where the average number of births is in fact somewhere around 2,000 or less. So we are less than half, even though we have a larger population today than we had back in the 1980s. So demographically, of course, we're seeing where that trend is. And one of the matters in terms of shifting that trend, which of course is certainly what a lot of countries are seeking to do at this point in time, because the implications of this ongoing trend is that we are looking at an aging society, an aging population. And whereas we would have quite often characterized the demographics of a country as a pyramid, you've got fewer people up on top, being older, and a very, very wide base at the bottom of young people. And that has shifted. And what it means then is that the population is getting older. The great implication of that on a large scale is that a lot of our systems are designed assuming that there'll be more people at the bottom than on the top. And one of the systems that certainly depends on that is that of the pension system. And the idea is that if you've got lots of people at the bottom, far fewer at the top, then the people at the bottom can in fact be paying to support the pension system of people who are there today receiving their pensions. The money that you're paying now into your pension scheme, you're not going to be seeing that until many, many decades later. And that is where there is now a challenge for institutions like the National Insurance Corporation that manage superannuation for the state. And it also, of course, is a great implication in terms of healthcare. Because, again, you find that the cost of healthcare tends to be greatest towards the end of life. This is where people are, in fact, racking up a lot of health expenses because their bodies are getting more worn down, the risk of an increase in the level of disease, the your just the ability for your body and your organs to continue to function is becoming harder, and so end of life tends to be a very health intensive period. And so again, any health insurance system is also going to be potentially in jeopardy when you're seeing people living longer lives, while at the same time you have fewer people coming up from the bottom to be able to support that productive workforce, to be able to put those funds into the system. And so the implications are certainly there at this time. And so the idea of children, and in fact encouraging larger families, encouraging more individuals to have children, is part of the suite of solutions which many countries are trying at this point in time to be able to try to reverse this type of trend. Some of the countries, especially in the developed world, where this problem is certainly very acute, what they have tended to do is to, one could say, siphon or attract people from other parts of the world to actually come to the shores. And they've got very robust immigration policies. And so they, in fact, in some instances, encourage families to be coming up to increase the population and to help with their demographic numbers. Of course, a place like the United States of America, for example, when one looks at the internal rate of increase from births, it is in fact inadequate to be able to keep the level of growth in the economy, and that's why they've been depending so heavily on immigration over the years, whether legal or non-legal forms of immigration, which of course has buoyed the U.S. economy in very many ways. And so that's one aspect of it, certainly. And other countries like Canada, for example, have had very robust immigration policies as well. So you're going to see that continuing. But of course, in the case of St. Lucia and countries in the Caribbean, this can, of course, potentially have a negative effect. And of course, we've been speaking about this for some time, the whole idea of brain drain, because quite often these developed countries are trying to attract individuals who are skilled, who are qualified, who are able to make major contributions to the economy right away. So whereas, of course, investments are being made in developing countries into things like education, these individuals are then being snapped up, attracted by better paying jobs in these metropoles. And so the matter of how do you continue to encourage the individual to stay within a country like St. Lucia certainly has to also take in consideration the importance of the environment that exists for children. If you want to ensure that individuals can raise children in a safe environment, in a child-friendly environment, in a wholesome environment. And so even, of course, the matter of education matters. Even before that, one could say the matter of maternal health and ensuring that parents can go through that process of expectancy in a safe way. And so the healthcare system, of course, is important, and ensuring that prenatal and neonatal care and pediatric care is something that is available and accessible to individuals. And of course, then the matter of childcare becomes equally as important. Is there sufficient amount of time provided to individuals to be able to, in fact, take care of the children? And in some countries, of course, the matter of equality when it comes to parents is a matter that has come up in places like Japan. the issue of paternal time off is one of those issues, for example. So whereas right now, I think maybe in St. Lucia, you might get about 2 weeks as a father. This, of course, is something that many countries are looking at extending because they see the importance of both parents playing a part in those very sensitive times. So another policy, for example, the matter of childcare. And we've been seeing some assistance being provided right now by the government in respect, not just about maternal care and getting your sonograms, ultrasounds done, and of course in terms of deliveries and what have you, but the matter of early childhood development, the provision of preschools is a really critical element as well. And so there was, in fact, I think some years ago, the promise of extending the universal education envelope towards the ends, so to speak. So right now, I think under the current Education Act, the current provision for education is from a period of 5 years to 16 years. So effectively, there is mandatory education from primary school up to secondary school. The current bill, in fact, being proposed, the education bill, for which I think there was some consultation sometime last year, is in fact recommending spreading that even further on both ends so that early childhood care is taken in. And so the recommendation, I think, is to start from the age of 3 now, effectively saying that you, in fact, do need to get into some form of a program, a structured program for early childhood development, and also extending it up to the age of 18. So effectively, post-secondary education, individuals who are going to do their A-levels and other programs at South Louis Community College and other institutions that offer that level would also become mandatory. And so, of course, the implications there would be that these things have to be provided to the country, to every citizen, free of charge. So that thrust, for example, of pushing towards, if you want to call it tuition-free access at post-secondary institutions like South Louis Community College, is already in that train with this proposal for a new Education Act. And certainly on the other end, the matter of early childhood development, the efforts to be able to begin providing more support to parents to subsidize the costs currently in respect of preschools and childcare centers. I think we saw it start off last year with support for these centers directly through a sort of a grant, as well as support to parents to pay part of the tuition costs for their children to attend these institutions. So definitely something that is needed and something that we have to be thinking about. And as also the quality of that care is also very important. The quality of the environment, the physical space that these schools are set in is important. Do they have opportunities to get outside? Do they have good opportunities for active play? And those are important. Playgrounds for those students. In many instances, a lot of the preschools, too many of them, in fact, are sort of hidden away in buildings which don't really have any kind of play areas, outdoor play areas. And it's something certainly that needs to be thought of within the context of standards for those types of institutions. And beyond that, of course, the role of the private sector in terms of delivering some of these services as well. I remember there was once a proposal when they were in fact constructing the Castries car park, and that was at the time to be able to ensure that that facility actually had some sort of a after school center or a daycare center for the purpose of providing a space for students and persons who were leaving school because after school, because that is in fact a major challenge in terms of productivity. We see very, very often at about maybe 2:30 an exodus of employees heading out of their offices and heading to pick up their children. And quite often, sometimes these children would have been ending up back in those very same offices to spend the afternoons with their parents. And of course, the implications there, quite often the productivity will be dropping. And so the need to be able to actually create spaces and wholesome environments for after school programs is certainly something to be thought of. But also, in terms of access to work, that too is a really important step as well, because we do know that quite often individuals, especially women, are sometimes stymied or have to make a very hard decision between, do I raise my child or do I go to work? And of course, in this modern era, certainly parents or females should not be so challenged in terms of this making that decision. And so the opportunities for childcare, even in terms of how that is provided by the private sector, is certainly something that needs to be looked at as well. Some institutions have tried, and in fact, some have even tried to set up their own daycare centers or preschools. But it is certainly something, especially where you have very large employers, it is something that perhaps needs to be looked at within that context. Is there some provision being made for childcare within those spaces? Because clearly, the worst thing that we can have is that children are going to be left at home or left to their own devices, or they simply are unsupervised. And we've had those issues far too often, of course, leading to major issues later on down in life. And of course, we also have to deal with the issue of child abuse and ensuring that individuals who are taking care of children are well trained and they understand how to, in fact, be good carers to children. So a lot of training has been done over the years. One must make a point, even quite recently, the Taiwanese, for example, assisted in extensive amount of training for early childhood development. And this is something that is ongoing through a number of different offerings. And then, of course, within that context, parental training and parental education is also very important. So the idea, for example, that, well, I'm going to raise my child today in the very same way that I was raised may not necessarily be the best way. Things have changed, and the knowledge of how children are learning and what types of exposure they need is something that is really a point of considerable amount of research now, looking at child psychology and looking at how children learn. And so there are a lot of new ideas that are certainly coming forward in this world today. For example, one of them has been over the years the matter of writing and how children, which hand should a child use to write, left or right? And you quite often see that in some in the past there was an idea that the child had to write with their right hand. And so they would have been forced into that direction. And interestingly enough, not just yesterday, in fact, I think I was reading an article coming out of Norway, and they were in fact suggesting that there's a program that they're actually trying in which they're effectively somewhat imposing ambidexterity upon children. And what they are effectively doing is that if a child has a dominant hand, right? So some people may be naturally left-handed or some naturally right-handed. They allow that, of course, and they will allow you to write in your dominant hand, with your dominant hand, or to do activities with that hand. But they also cause for a period of time within their system to, in fact, encourage the child to write with their non-dominant hand, or they would, in fact, have different activities for children to use their non-dominant hand. So whether it's drawing or engaging in different types of activity, they call it a mirror hour. And so for about 10 minutes a day, they in fact ask the children to switch hands, and they begin to undertake other activities using their non-dominant hand. And they're saying that it actually is the way the brain approaches that is that it is as if it's learning a new language. So they've actually looked at the neurology of it. They've done scans, and they're showing a very sharp rise in the use of the logic of both sides of the brain in children. And so they're saying that coming out of that, in terms of using both hemispheres, you in fact are providing effectively a better brain. and they've in fact been able to say that using that methodology, they've come out with 34. Students generally will make 34% fewer careless mistakes with mirror-trained brain, so to speak. And so I'm just using this as one example to show that there's a lot of techniques out there right now in terms of pedagogy, in terms of research that is being done, in terms of best practices, which we certainly have to look at. And not all may be applicable, certainly, but it is a matter that we've got to think about in terms of the quality of experience that our children are being exposed to. And of course, we are living in a very well-connected world. We're also living in a world that is highly digitalized and visual, and also even the issue of how do you balance the amount of screen time and the type of activities that children engage in are also major discussions that we need to have. Another example, quite recent in another country, was the banning of access to mobile phones in schools, and that has traditionally been, of course, a big issue, and in many countries they in fact have taken that decision to limit access for children away from these types of devices. So, happy International Children's Day, of course, to all the children out there, and we do hope that they're having a wonderful, wonderful day. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we will take in our weather report and then take in some calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tiles in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tiles in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tiles. And natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tiles for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Tile and Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And National Coastal 1.1 is now time for a weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, winds will be blowing from between the east and east-northeast near 60 miles per hour or 26 kilometers per hour. It will depart the cloudy skies, becoming cloudy at times with a few showers. The forecast for the Los Angeles, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with widely scattered showers. And the tropical weather outlook, moist and unstable conditions in the atmosphere will cause occasional cloudy periods with showers over the Los Angeles during the forecast period. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the tropical Atlantic during the next 7 days. And this was your weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Last year, boy, problems to get shipment of tiles in time for Christmas. This year, Island Style has enough tiles in stock to cover the whole of St. Lucia. And with our Christmas sale starting now, every tile is on sale. Island Style has massive stock, the widest variety, and the very best sale prices on quality tiles and natural stone in St. Lucia. Great deals on beautiful bathroom faucets, vanities and fixtures, tiling tools and accessories. Don't fall for no gimmicks anywhere else. Island Style's annual Christmas sale is unbeatable. Tiles for miles. Deals as far as the eye can see. Start your car, ride your bike, hop on a bus, and hurry down to Island Style Talent Bath now. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewford. Check Facebook for more details.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, the number to call and to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. You can also reach us at our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. A couple of things happening today in the country. One of them, I think, happening, which perhaps just ended not too long ago at the SAB VG playing field, was an event regarding the, I suppose you could say, the installation of the permanency of about, I think, close to 1,300 persons who were previously temporary workers being given permanent status. Let's take in a call right now. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom.
Good afternoon,
what's
Mr.
on your
George.
plate today? Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Wonderful.
Now, what I would like to know,
Yes.
who have the patent for AI?
There would be many different patents.
That's what I think.
So they're different systems, they're different algorithms, they're different models. There are many of them, different components as well, which have gone into the design of artificial intelligence systems. So
Yeah.
it's not that easy to say that it's grouped together as just one. I mean, quite recently, I don't know if you recall, some months back, there was a major issue with respect to a Chinese AI outfit, very small company, and they were able to achieve a remarkable model, AI model that was performing tremendously well compared to and this was done by a very small company with not massive amounts of research, and what they were able to achieve, was rivaling a lot of the US-based companies and what they were being producing. So there's that aspect of it, but then there's also the infrastructure upon which AI is built as well, because what you effectively have is a lot of computing power, right? And you can now utilize
a lot of computing power to come up with these types of solutions. So that requires actual computers, and they have to, the chips that they're running on is one major component. And so, for example, companies like NVIDIA, which is now, I think, the most capitalized, largest company in the world now, I think it is. I mean, it's remarkable how valuable those companies have become, and that is on the basis of the fact that they are the ones building the microchips that these processors are running on now, and so they've become very, very wealthy. So you have that, and then of course you have these companies now having to create very large installations, data centers, to in fact house all these computers. So it's a mixed.
The reason why I asked that is the Prince of Saudi Arabia Tuesday visiting the White House, talking with Trump, and he put an order for almost a billion pound to buy AI from America. So I wonder how is American selling so much AI and not some of the other countries?
Well,
but now I understand is not something is something individual.
So the United States, the strength of the United States right now is very much geared towards technology and the production of and the development of technology. So you're seeing it, although, for example, in the case of, let's say, semiconductors, the United States may not be the largest manufacturer of semiconductors, but the very question that you raised, but so they may not be physically manufactured in the U.S. They may be in Taiwan, they may be in China. But
Taiwan is very big as well.
Yes, certainly. One of the largest companies, TSMC, is a Taiwanese company. But then, although they may not be manufacturing them necessarily, they have a lot of the rights to the technology, the patents.
What they said they're going to manufacture, they'll put more than one factory in America.
So right, so right now there is also that shift, and they're trying to, for a number of different reasons, they're trying to relocate some of the manufacturing in the United States. And so again, that very same company, I think you may have seen a couple months back, President Trump boasting about how they're going to be setting up a new factory, I think, in Arizona? And so, yeah, so you're getting that. And part of it, too, is because of the concerns between Taiwan and China. Taiwan has been speaking of its what they call a silicone shield. In other words, they're too valuable in terms of the overall system of technological infrastructure production to be attacked. So,
well, America already has Silicon Valley.
Yes.
So they had to come with something else.
Well, excuse me. Yeah, and of course, Silicon Valley, again, a lot of it is really about the development, the development of the technology, the R&D, the co-location of a lot of these major firms in the San Francisco Bay Area and the universities around there as well, which support a lot of the research. So, yeah, so that is certainly, why, for example, a state like California is so very important because of the production that they have in terms of development of the technology, the software. So yeah, it is certainly their strength.
But
at
talking
the moment.
about AI, yesterday you went on St. Jude with AI.
St. Jude, I went to St. Jude with AI. How, explain.
No, you asking the question when a building finish.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you mean in terms of the commissioning? Yeah, well, I mean, caller, it is everywhere. And the reality is that you have technology that it makes things pretty easy now to be able to source answers and to source information. It may not always be correct. You got to kind of do your own checks sometimes, but you do. It does help in terms of
Definitely.
getting information.
Why not?
And exactly. So it is important. It is certainly very important that we utilize technology. And in fact, you would say that countries.
Mr. Judge is an important one way, but some manufacturing firm already said they're going to make all 14,000 people unemployed, and AI will take their job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is the reality of the fourth. What's the fourth? The fourth.
Amazon is one of them.
Yeah, and there'll be many, many more to come for sure. You're going to be seeing that AI is going to be supporting a lot of robotics. It's going to be supporting a lot of automation. A lot of tasks are going to be handled. I mean, the reality is far, far faster to be able to do so. And so a lot of jobs are going to be changed. And in some instances, replaced. So, in the days when...
But if one factory alone will make 14,000 people unemployed, that's Amazon, and all the rest, because when one factory looked and he said, oh, he make 14,000 unemployed, and I holding 14,000 here, where's my profit? Because all the profit will go in wages. So he too will do copycat, will make people unemployed, Mr. Judge.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is part of the change that we're seeing worldwide and has continued to change.
Something I learned a long time ago, and there was a program in England they called Tomorrow's World. And Tomorrow's World was all about new technology, how new technology will take over a lot of people's work. But what they was telling people that when the new technology come, instead you work 8 hours a day, you will work 4 hours a day. So if you want to go and play golf, if you want to go fishing, that's what they was putting in the head of the people. But today, come reality, they're telling you 14,000 unemployed. You have to go out and look for a job in there.
I'm with you, caller. I'm with you.
Yeah. And where I learn again, when I grew up as a little boy, most places, the biggest job they had was copy typists.
There you go.
And then when they come with these machines, you put in the office, and if you want 20, 50, 100 copy of this file, you'll do it. One person will do it.
So, I mean, a good way of looking at it is exactly as you're saying. Maybe 1,000 years, 1,000 years ago, right? All books were written by hand. You know, there were no printers. There was nothing but publishing. And then you saw a major revolution, in the 1500s, where you saw the Gutenberg press and printing became a major thing. And then you just saw an explosion of access to information. And literally what we're seeing right now is almost we saw one revolution perhaps with the computer already, and we're just continuing to see this get to another point where it's going on another level of steroids, so to speak, because of the extent of how it's developing. And so you're going to be seeing a tremendous amount of change and a tremendous amount of opportunity.
But the other thing is, Mr. Judge, when so many people losing the job, you don't think we're heading for a revolution as well?
There are certainly a lot of considerations in terms of how countries are going to manage these shifts, these major transformational shifts in the workforce and what it means. I mean, some countries have already gone towards, as you were actually saying, they're giving people an extra day off. Now, if it can be that these technological advancements are simplifying life, making life better, enhancing productivity, allowing us to be able to do far more than what we were able to do before. everybody benefits. At the end of it all, once we can ensure that the benefits are actually shared to as many people as possible, then yes, it's generally going to be a good thing. Are we going to get to the point in the future where everybody has their own robot, so to speak, or personal assistant, or the amount of...
Yeah, but Mr. Judge, we will always have the rich people, though.
Are we going to...
Is a mixture.
Are we going to see... Are we going to see how that is going to...
And the poor.
No, but are we going to see that the technology is going to be applied into things like how we feed ourselves? Can we improve on agricultural production systems and manufacturing systems? And these things all lead to gains, provided that those gains are actually passed on, right? And
trickle down.
Right? Well, yeah, because, put it this way, that these things allow for things to become more affordable, right? Then you should hopefully begin to see benefits coming out of the technology. But it sometimes takes a while before these things are realized. I mean, you're seeing different ideas being played out.
The idea I have in my head and what I've seen in the world of today, like Ian Moss, one man wants to be so multi-millionaire, and they don't pass nothing down.
That you're right, and that is where the role of the state and the role of governance is important in terms of ensuring that there is that balancing act, right? Because I mean, if you have a lot of wealth, that wealth at the same time has to be taxed, right? And this is where there's that big philosophical debate in the United States about how much should you tax the wealthy? Should you not? I mean, if they in fact are making such large gains, whose responsibility is it to ensure that those gains are, yes, to the benefit of the person getting wealthy, but also shared to those who who are depending on these gains?
But when you have a country with dictators, they dictate everything. It's not easy,
Yeah,
to pass down
certainly, and then it becomes a little worrying too when you're seeing that these very same people don't have not just they don't have the check, but then they end up becoming part of the very same system, which is supposed to somewhat police them and provide oversight for them. So we saw recently with Musk, in fact, getting into government and saying how he was going to revolutionize the efficiency of government with the Department of Government Efficiency. What has become of that? I mean, the idea that somehow try the swamp, yes. Yeah, so exactly that, caller. Sometimes you get these kinds of promises, and clearly it hasn't worked out, but he has certainly become an even wealthier man. And you'd wonder, who was the greatest beneficiary to this entire stunt? Was it the ordinary man who was supposed to be getting some great levels of improvement in government efficiency, or was it Mr. Musk himself? So yeah, I mean, that's what we've got to be wary of within this context.
Anyhow, good afternoon, Mr. George.
Thanks very much, caller. Thanks very much for that interaction. And of course, even with that, there are other major issues. That places like the United States are facing. Issues of housing and issues of how one develops. These spaces, urban issues. So there are a lot of issues that sometimes are not getting the kind of backing and financing for. But we clearly are seeing a great desire right now for business people to be investing in what is potentially the next big thing, and we're seeing lots of money flooding in those directions. Let's take another call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hi, good afternoon. I'll say one pot.
Ah, one pot, okay.
It's good. I
Please
would
share.
just like to wish all children happy International Children's Day. It's good to hear that you did all your research, especially on early childhood and all of these things, because it's very, very important. When I do all my research, places like Finland, Switzerland, Sweden,
Right.
Norway, they take early childhood very, very, very seriously because
As we should as
as a
well.
concern, it is the foundation
Yes.
to higher learning. And
Yes.
if they don't have that foundation to higher learning, then they're going to get nowhere. And that's why they think that even right down here. I heard the Prime Minister said about having universal pay.
Early-
Yes, but
Yes.
I'm just trying to find out how it is going to be done because as far as I am aware, there are like 95 private early childhood centers.
Oh, last
and they're-
night I heard another figure of over 100. So maybe,
and
yeah,
there's over,
and
it's
increasing.
105
105. Ah, I
in
see.
all, but the government has 4.
Ah, okay. All right.
And then they range at different prices.
Right.
Yeah, but again, if you're looking for quality, because some of the preschools, because I did with Montessori. Now Montessori, everybody knows the brand and everything. So, but I'm hoping that a lot more training because sometimes just the simple prerequisite skills that those children have to learn. Sometimes they are not taught because even getting a child to write,
Right.
read, writing starts from left to right, and all of the simple. That's why we do everything in phases, and I take it very, very serious how you teach children. All of those things, and I'm hoping all of that will be. And that's why I'm wondering how the Prime Minister is going to be able to pay all. If it's on a basis like you find out the number of children in the private preschools, find out how many people are able to pay, and if you're going to pay, or if you're going to pay for all, including people that can pay. So that's, I think that should be clarified because I'm sure some of the early childhood centers are wondering, what is going to happen since it's their private
Well,
school.
I would imagine there probably might be a situation where there's going to be something that you do somewhat across the board. You have a cap to say, well, you're going to pay up to a certain amount.
Okay.
And if
but
you
that
in
has
fact
to be
have,
clarified and explained.
well, of course, certainly,
Yeah, because
in
it's
terms of
running.
how it would in fact be implemented. But then that said as well, you also have to safeguard the matter of the quality of some of these institutions.
Because especially when it comes to reading and math, because you find in some schools, the children just recite the ABCs. You recite ABC, you count 1, 2, whatever. You hear parents will say, my child can count from 1 to 20. My child knows all his ABC. But can a child recognize, even though he can count from 1 to 20, can he recognize numeral 4? Can he look at numeral 5? Because people think, and that's why we have to be very, very careful when we teach. We don't teach a number 1, number 2. Numeral. Number is the amount. Then the number 1 is the numeral. It's just like the ABC. We more think on phonetics because reciting ABC want to have a child to be able to read. The child should be able to know his phone. And I think it's time to train that more phonetics be taught at early childhood center. Because this is a way of helping children to read on their own. That's why I just love where I was, with Montessori, because, children do, before they even turn 5 years old, now it has to be a lot of observation of children, watch, know that the small motor skills are in place for be able to read, all of those things. And then they're able to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division on their own. Once they are trained to do, because we have the materials, the children are able to read and write because we have.
In addition to what you're saying, though, caller, because quite often I think we provide, we say, oh, okay, you know what, the parent, the teacher, the early childhood educator is the one who's going to do that, right?
Yes.
But then I also think, though, that there has to be some better parental education programs as well.
Yes, for them to understand that.
Yes, because you may not be able to necessarily go as far in depth with everything that you may have to learn in terms of preparing persons for early childhood education. But then I think the parent as well, especially the individual who is going to be in the house, with those children.
Yes,
They
yes.
also need to be able to understand their child and how to approach, because that too is also very, very critical.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Because I remember once a parent came to me, because we teach phonetics in order to help children to read. And then I remember after the child left, a parent came to me and she told me at the school she had put her child, they told her child did not know all of his letters, his ABC's letters. So I told her the reason why maybe is because we don't do just letters, we do phonetic sounds, we do the double consonants and all of those things. So when you go to another place and then you teach the child like A, B, C and all of those things, and then he looks as if he or she doesn't know, it's because we don't do it. We do the phonetics and all of those things. And I take all of these things very, very serious, because I feel when these children have that start, even before we actually do math, we children have to know length, width, height, all of these simple things. All of these are part of mathematics and all of it. And that's what some people not even aware. So I think for true, a lot of training is supposed to be given to parents and also, and even children expressing themselves. Some you find too many times, because children are free, because they are 4, they are not allowed to express themselves. If I tell you, there was this little boy, this is a joke about a little boy. He's 3.5, but he was at the point where he was able to write his name. But he just was just a talker. Put him to sit at the table and ask him to write his name in full and bring it to us, because it's 2 teachers. Almost half an hour, because he's such a talker, he had not written his name. So the other teacher went to see if he had written his name, and she saw he had not done anything yet. So she said, since what time I gave you to write your name? Now, this was meant as a statement, but he, being a child that took everything literally, looked at her and said, I don't know, I don't have a watch.
I don't know. I don't have a what? Sorry.
Because she asked him since what time.
Oh, since what time? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I got it. Okay.
She asked him, since what time I put you there to write your name? And his answer was, I don't know. I don't have a watch. You see what children can take.
No, it's a proper answer, yeah. Because again, it's the expressions that we use quite often that we take for granted.
Yes, and then because I had to get out from the table where I was sitting in front of the class and go outside, have a full belly laugh, and come back and sit quietly, because because sometimes you will ask a question of them, and sometimes the answer might make you look silly.
Well, exactly, and really study how, and you're making a very important point, how you communicate ideas to individuals who are children. It's so fascinating, because they are literally just learning the language, and so things like that expression that you just gave are not really perhaps accurate as to how you would perhaps get them to understand that.
Yes, and you would have to have a sense of humor to get where it's coming from.
Yes.
Because you're asking him what time. How would he know the time if he doesn't
have a watch? Yes, very, very on point.
So I'm serious. It's just a thing I love. I love early childhood. I love working with children. I worked for so long, and I think only once for a week I was sick, and that was it.
Wow.
Because I was driven, I was motivated to make sure that every child, when he left that morning, was able to read. We were actually being happy to go to a place, bring the train on a field trip, and after just write a whole sentence, to thank the people, and just allow a 4-year-old to read that, and have the people amazed that a 4-year-old could read so fluently.
Yes.
And all of these things, so I'm hoping that they will take early childhood very, very, very seriously, make sure that people are well trained in order to prepare that train.
And also the environments that are available. I mean, we now, of course, have shifted to a more suburban or city type urban lifestyle in St. Lucia, but we've done so without the presence of proper parks. I want to commend Mr. Stevenson King in terms of what he has able to achieve up in Carolee, because they have a very, very nice.
That they will do it locally.
Exactly, he has a very nice children's park up in Carolee, very well done.
Yes,
and really that should be the model for nearly every single community around the island. There's another
And,
very nice
and
one.
I was told
in,
there was one that was open at T. Rocher in Marsha. The Prime Minister just recently opened.
Toulouse. You mean the
Yeah,
Toulouse one?
Toulouse, yeah.
Yeah, right. That has been there a little while. I think they've upgraded it.
It and everything.
So they upgraded it, right?
So we need a lot of
do you
those
need
things.
that?
Just because one thing we did, we took children on a lot of field trips.
Mm-hmm.
We took them on lots of field trips because you can have children in the classroom.
Exactly.
Almost, and they have no idea of what's going out there.
Exactly.
Simple things like asking children as young as that to listen to the news, and when they come the following day, you ask them a simple, what did you hear? And lots of things that could engage our children. But sometimes I wonder if this. I heard you talk about the phone, taking phone away from children.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I heard you say that. But my granddaughter, she just went into junior high.
Mm-hmm.
But when they get in, they have to take the phone away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, she made a good case. She was saying, but why do you have to take my cell phone away and put it in private? With so many things going on. If I don't have my cell phone on me, if something happens, just certainly happen, how can I get my parent or somebody to come to think? Because what you're saying, they have all the things that are happening at schools and all of those things, but you're still taking away their phone, and it's after, whereby an immediate emergency.
Yeah.
How can they contact someone?
Well, we won't be able to end that debate tonight, today. So we'll have to get back to you on that one, of course. But again, thank you so much for all that you have done as well in your life in supporting children. And, of course, we want to thank you to all those others who are early childhood providers. For the work that they've done.
It's very important. It's very important.
Yes. All right. Thanks very much. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
And, of course, to all children out there, again, a very, very happy International World Children's Day. But we're going to have to end the program a little over time already. So we do hope that you can join us again tomorrow for another program. I'm your host, Calixte Jr., saying goodbye.